Hello, my name is Clive Johnson. I'm President and CEO of B2Gold. It's a pleasure to be with you here, albeit virtually. And I'd like to thank the Denver Gold Group for putting on this conference again and finding a creative way to do it virtually. It's an exciting time to be telling you the story of B2Gold and what we've been able to accomplish to date and how excited we are about looking forward. This is a slide that's called a cautionary statement that has an awful lot of words in it. Basically, this is a cover my ass legal slide. Because some of the things I'm going to say are going to be forward-looking and therefore may very well be subject to change. There's copies of this on our website if you want to read the detail. B2Gold has three producing gold mines today, one of them in Mali in West Africa, one of them in Namibia, the Otjikoto mine, and the Masbate mine in the Philippines, and that makes up our projected million ounces of gold production for this year. We also have some development projects we're pretty excited about. In Colombia, we have one with a joint venture with AngloGold Ashanti that's moving towards final feasibility study, and we also have another prospective project, one in Burkina Faso, but also some tremendous exploration and potentially production upside around the Fekola mine. And Namibia, we're getting great exploration results as well. I get asked a lot about political risk and managing political risk, which is a very valid question, of course. This slide, number 4, talks about managing political risk. I just want to talk a little bit about why we think we've been so successful over 30 years now between B2Gold, which was a predecessor company from our group, and B2Gold. So over the years, we've gone to countries like Chile, the USA, Russia, South Africa in the BIMA days. And then subsequent to that, when we created B2Gold 12 years ago, we've been in Nicaragua, Namibia, the Philippines, and now Mali as well. So how do we do this? How have we been able to do this all over the world and had great success? Well, I think there's a couple of reasons why. One of the first reasons I would point you to is experience. We have a remarkably experienced group of people in Vancouver, technical people, financial people. Many of us have worked together for 20, 30 years. We actually have 300 years of experience in our executive group, not experience in the gold mining industry, but experience of working together at BIMA. It's now B2Gold. So a remarkable experience. It's a great group that works well together. But also we know very well and learned a long time ago, you can't run gold mines from Vancouver. So we have tremendous people on site that do an incredible job. 24 hours a day, we run these mines, and we have an excellent safety track record, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So I think experience is a huge factor in our success. But it's also culture. Our culture is based on, and has been for over 30 years, the principles of fairness, respect, transparency, and accountability. Now, those are pretty big words, but at the end of the day, we've tried to live those around the world. I call it an extension of the Canadian culture, the way you treat people. Treat people the way you would like to be treated if someone came into your country and said they wanted to build a gold mine. One of the keys in the way you exhibit respect, fairness, and transparency is by delivering on the promises you make. I've gone around the world and made promises to presidents of countries and face-to-face, and I promised them all the great things we're going to do by coming in and building a safe gold mine and creating jobs and training their people, being responsible environmentally and socially, and doing great social programs, and being a key part of their economy with the taxes, the jobs we create, and the taxes that we pay. I've told that story, I've told those stories and made those promises around the world. The key is delivering on those promises. Many of these leaders in these countries, developing countries around the world, they believe you because you're the CEO of a Western company. They expect you to deliver on your promises, as you should. And I've found that time and time again, we've delivered on the promises in a respectful way, treating people fairly and being transparent. I would say that's one of the key reasons to our success. Deliver on the promises you make. If you don't deliver on the promises you make, you can often run into, understandably, into problems with governments who are disappointed in your performance. So we work very hard and always have been building very positive relationships with all levels of government. I'll talk a bit about COVID in a few minutes, but I think it really shows when you hit a crisis like COVID, the way you respond to it. We've had a great support and trust with our employees and the governments in the countries that we work. It's been critical to be able to continue to mine safely during a crisis. So it's all about a win-win approach. It's all about if we're going to come into a country and mine gold, everybody has to win. Everybody should win. It's the right thing to do. We have an expression around B2Gold that this is not your grandfather's mining company. It's not. It's much better than that. And we try to demonstrate that every day with our culture and the way we run our business. This slide is a great one of my favorites, because it shows the dramatic growth that we've seen in B2Gold over just basically the last 12 or 13 years since we started the company at zero. So when B2Gold was taken over by Kinross in a $3.5 billion Canadian transaction, we didn't want that as management, but we had 75,000 shareholders. It's not our company. We work for the shareholders of the company. So that was very good for our shareholders, and good for Kinross, a great deal for their shareholders. At the end of the day, we decided to do it again, so we created B2Gold. So we put up our own money some time ago and started again at zero. So you can see the dramatic growth from Nicaragua in 2012, where we started, then on to the Philippines, Namibia, and now ultimately Mali. So the three mines today, the three mines that make up our million ounces projected production, are Fekola, which we're just finished an expansion of. During COVID, we not only had record performance in Fekola in the first half of this year, but we have expanded the mill, just completed expansion of our mill for very little additional financing to be able to take us from 6 million tons a year to 7.5 million tons a year, 30 days ahead of schedule. This is part of the key to our success. We don't use a lot of contractors or consultants. We have our own construction teams, our own exploration teams, and the people working in our mines, we want them to work for us. We want to make sure we're responsible for them and taking care of them and treating them well. So now we're going to have seen dramatic growth at Fekola with this latest expansion, the second expansion. We did one during construction. It was going so well. And now we're looking at approximately 600,000 ounces of low-cost production from Fekola this year. In addition to that, we're going to have 165 to 175,000 ounces from the Otjikoto mine in Namibia, another great success for us, and we've had exploration success there, as we've had everywhere around our mines. One of the keys to our success is one of the best gold exploration teams in the world that have been together for over 30 years. So exploration, the cheapest ounces will always be the ones you find. We continue to find a lot of them around our mines and in new locations as well. Finally, the Masbate mine in the Philippines has been another great success for us over several years. That's projected to be a little over 200,000 ounces of gold production this year. I think the other thing that's important to realize when you look at us in our future is the length of our mine lives. We have a 10-year mine life and counting at Fekola, and we're having great exploration success that suggests we're going to increase that mine life, or a great possibility to do that. You'll see some exploration results we released today, indicating the potential of Fekola to add a lot more potential gold deposits in that region. In Masbate, we have an initial 7-year mine life at 200,000 ounces a year, and we continue to get exploration success, so we would expect to extend that. But then we have another 8 years of mining, processing tailings for 100,000 ounces of low-cost production for another 8 years. So a good long mine life there. In Otjikoto, we have a solid 6-7 year mine life now, but we're getting some really good exploration success just recently here that shows that it's open underground. We're going underground and doing an underground project as part of Otjikoto, which actually will increase gold production over the next few years for a few years, and subsequent to that, we're hoping to have more exploration success. So very well positioned for the future, and a dramatic story of growth, which has been fortunately realized by our shareholders over the last couple of years particularly. So just quickly on the financial results, in the first half of 2020, we had record gold production of over 500,000 ounces. Once again, the second quarter during COVID. And actually in the second quarter, we produced 241,000 ounces and 264 in the first quarter, which was a record quarterly gold production. In terms of our performance, the results have been excellent. Our cash operating costs for this year, we're guiding 415 to 455,000 ounces of gold as a range. We actually came in the second quarter. We came in at the second quarter at $390 an ounce for operating costs, and $390 for the first half of the year, so well below our projections. More importantly, perhaps, our all-in sustaining costs to produce an ounce of gold, so all-in costs, we're projecting $780 to $820 for the year. We came in for the first half of the year at $717, significantly beating our own projections and budgets. So the consolidated guidance for B2Gold for 2020, as I mentioned, is a little over 1 million ounces a year based on our current assumptions. Cash operating costs projected for around $415 to $455. All-in sustaining costs $780 to $820 an ounce. The result of that is we're projecting revenue for the year of $1.8 billion US, and we're projecting cash flow from operations, or gross profit, at $900 million or more. That's if gold was to average $1,900 an ounce for 2020. That's left us in an extraordinarily strong financial position. I think this is really important as well. We have at the end of the second quarter, we had $157 million in cash, and we had cash equivalents of $628 million, exceeding our debt dramatically, as our debt balance was $470 million, or just over. We've had a dramatic debt reduction, which has been part of our plan for a long time, and the performance of the mines and the gold prices allowed us to dramatically reduce our debt. So we've paid back $375 million recently of our corporate revolving corporate facility. That leaves us $50 million outstanding, and that'll be paid by the end of this month, which means we'll be debt-free. And that's allowed us to pay this very healthy dividend that our board of directors voted recently for another 4 cents for the third quarter. That brings us to 16 cents projected for the year as a dividend, yielding about 2.5%, one of the highest yielding dividends in the gold space. So we're very proud of that. So in terms of debt, we have $600 million available to us, no debt at the end of this month, but $600 million available to us and another $200 million additional in our revolving credit facility with a great syndicate of banks. But this is part of our strategy, and I think it's important to maybe spend a minute on it. What we've been doing in the last 10 years for parts of that has been very contrarian, because we've stuck with our long-term strategy of believing that our job is to continue to find or acquire and build accretively gold mines and grow the company, irrespective of the gold price and the gold market sentiment. So over the last 5 years or so, when we were building the Otjikoto mine in Namibia and building the Fekola mine in Mali, that was very contrarian. Most companies were not building mines. Most shareholders did not want people to try to build mines because of bad past performance. We stuck to our guns in our strategy, but we didn't want to dilute our shareholders because it was contrarian, and the value of Fekola was not reflected in our share price or the potential of Fekola. So we didn't go and dilute our shareholders by doing equity offerings. We used debt, a sensible amount of debt, to build Fekola. And here we are now paying back the final portion of that debt. That's, I think, a very good strategy from the financial point of view. That leaves us in a wonderful position going forward. The whole philosophy and strategy here is to take some of this hard-earned money by producing gold profitably and reward our shareholders with a healthy dividend. At the same time, though, we're a growth company. We've always have been, as you've seen, and I think a lot of shareholders who own our company, they own it because of the dividend, of course, as part of it, but they also own it because we're very good at what we do. We're, unlike many gold companies, we're not relying on the price of gold to go higher for our shareholders to make a profit or for us to make a profit. We're extremely profitable. Yes, we're leveraged to the price of gold, but we don't need gold to go higher. And I think that's the key when you look at investors such as the generalist funds who are starting to look at gold stocks, many of these young guys, for the first time in their lives. So we tell them, well, don't just buy us because we produce gold. You get gold leverage, but buy us because we're really damn good at what we do. And we have a tremendous track record of making a lot of money for our shareholders over time. In terms of, I want to talk a little bit about COVID. I could talk a lot about this, but time doesn't allow. But I just want to say that we've had a remarkable success, and I think it goes back to what I talked about earlier with the culture. We've been on the same page as the governments in these developing countries that we're in, our employees, including our unions, and the company. And that is, we wanted to keep mining during COVID if we could do it safely, and that was the top priority. Well, safety is our number one priority, and you hear that a lot of the mining industry, and I'm really pleased to see the industry is really doing well overall, I would say, in safety. We've had a remarkable track record of safety, and this is part of our cultural commitment to our employees. So we went through the second quarter of this year, we actually had no lost time accidents, which is quite remarkable. I don't think there's a factory in North America that could brag that success in safety. And that's a commitment to our employees, and they know that. So to transition from that kind of safety record into COVID, we were ready for it, and we jumped on it early. We recognized it was going to be a marathon, not a sprint. And because of the trust that we'd built up and gained with our employees and the governments in the countries we work, by delivering on the promises we made, we've had a great result. These developing countries don't have a safety net. They can't just print more currency to try and fight their way through a pandemic and the financial impact of that. So it was really important. They declared the mining industry essential businesses during COVID. We've done remarkably well with that. I do want to talk to you a little bit about Mali, because I don't want to forget to talk about this. It's very important. You know, the political risk and political stability, those are the important aspects of what we do and how we manage it. There's been a recent coup in Mali where the existing government was pushed aside. But I think it's really important to understand the coup in Mali, because the coup in Mali seems to have been supported by the majority of the population who wanted change at the top in government. They wanted a more representative government of their country. It was a nonviolent coup, and it wasn't an ideological coup. These are people that want to see better government, more representative government in their country, in their view, and they took steps to make that happen. We're expecting over the next few weeks to see the announcement of an interim government, and they will go back to elections, probably in the next 18 months, free democratic elections. The important thing is mining is so important to Mali. It's a critical part of the country and its economy. It's 10% of the GDP of Mali, and the mining revenue from mining makes up a whopping 25% of the revenue that comes into the government of Mali. They have a history. They had a coup in 2011, and there was no lost time with mining. There's been no lost time of gold mining here. And in fact, during the coup in 2011, which was a similarly nonviolent coup, actually Randgold, built a gold mine during that interim government stage. We don't see this impacting. It hasn't impacted our ability to mine. Our mines are safe. There's 7 other mines in the belt which we're in. We've all been able to continue mining safely and successfully. So COVID, we continue with all the things you've heard about that we should do, which is, the hand washing, masks, testing work. So we've had a great result in how we've handled that, and I reinforce the reasons why the governments and our employees trust us. Responsible mining, I'd like to think we didn't write the book on this, but we were a big part of it. Over the many, many years, we were doing, CSR and ESG before they had fancy titles. It was a commitment as part of our culture from the earliest days to recognize the fact that we want to be supportive in our communities. We want to try and create sustainable jobs. If you go on our website, there's some tremendous information about the kind of things that we do. There are too many to talk about now, but just some of them outside the box. We've created a gold bar from the gold mines, from the gold of Otjikoto, donating 1,000 ounces to make gold bars to help try and save the black rhino, which roams freely in the north of Mali, the only place in the world they roam freely. We're selling these gold bars to help support the efforts of the rangers and the people in these communities who are working to save these animals. It's good for the communities, it's good for their economy, it's good for tourism as it comes back. It's also good for the rhino. So we've taken some gold that was deposited in the earth 6 billion years ago at Otjikoto from an exploding star, and we've taken that gold and made it into gold bars that are beautiful gold bars to look to save an animal that's been roaming the planet for some 50 million years. I like the historical aspect of that. The bars are available on Kitco. They're beautiful. If you want to own a piece of gold, it's a great way to do it and give something back. And there's many other things. Time doesn't allow me to talk about some of the other initiatives, but a lot of our stuff is in terms of CSR is towards health, and it's towards agriculture, education. We're trying to leave these countries a better place than when we arrived in the communities in which we work. I think we're doing a very good job of that. So looking forward in terms of corporate strategy, we're going to continue to do what we've done so well, and that's maintain the highest standards of responsible mining, government relations, ESG, which I briefly touched on as a huge priority for us in those areas. We're going to continue to look at maximizing our profitable gold production from our existing mines and continue with a very successful program over time and continuing on and increasing reserves at our existing mines with our great exploration team. We're going to maintain a strong cash position. As I mentioned, we're in extremely strong shape today. We intend to stay that way and continue to not only pay a significant dividend, which we will look to grow over time, but also make sure that we have additional funds from cash from operations to continue to grow this company. Whether it be developing the Gramalote project in Chile, it's an old one, in Colombia with our joint venture partner AngloGold Ashanti, where we're completing a final feasibility study there with us as operator in the first quarter of next year. So far the economics look good. There's some more information on our more detailed deck about it, but bottom line is that Gramalote has a permit from the government of Colombia to mine, and we're getting a final feasibility study. If it confirms the results we've seen to date, we expect Gramalote to be a profitable gold producer that can produce over 400,000 ounces of gold a year out of the gate with very impressive low costs. So that's probably the next decision to come, and we would look to fund our half of that, which could be $450 million to build this large open pit gold mine in Colombia. Half of that we could clearly fund from our existing cash from operations when you look at our cash projections. So we're going to focus primarily on organic growth. It's going to get more and more competitive now for the gold mining industry with an increased gold price to grow. Because now the development projects that are out there, and there aren't many that we like, because there hasn't been a lot of money spent on gold exploration or development over the last 10 or 15 years because the industry was so out of favor. We didn't wait for that. We didn't wait to join the herd to try and now compete to buy development projects in a rising gold market. We did the heavy lifting when it wasn't being done before by creatively acquiring projects and then being disciplined in building them. We'll continue with that discipline. I'm not saying we won't look at M&A. We'll look, but it's got to be pretty compelling because we have the Gramalote in the pipeline. We have around Fekola, where we're having great exploration success, indicating there could be additional Fekola world-class deposits in the belt. It's early days, but there's very strong indications of potential. And we're also looking all over the world for additional major gold deposits, sometimes in conjunction with junior companies, others on our own ticket. We've made a lot of world-class gold discoveries, and the cheapest ounces will always be the ones that you find. In addition to that, we had talked a bit about Otjikoto. We're doing an underground development project, which looks very good. And I mentioned exploration and the things we're going to do around the world. Just to wrap up, I guess, we're in tremendous shape. We We like to think we've earned it. We've worked very hard for a very long period of time. And I just want to shout out to all of our 4,300 employees around the world. Just a remarkable group of people. Everywhere I go, I'm always amazed at the effects of the culture, the morale. Lately, we haven't been able to go and visit our people at the mines, which is disappointing. But we're in contact. We have great management on site, well supported by Vancouver. And I always ask the question when we're meeting with the mine managers, how's morale? And time again, I'm told it's really good. And these people are working extra long hours and not seeing their families as much. And they're committed to what they're doing. They appreciate these jobs. They appreciate that they're being taken care of. So I just want to shout out and thank all of our employees and all the other people in the world that support what we do. You know, some people think that CEOs of public companies shouldn't have opinions about politics, and I try to stay away from that, and I won't go into details of my political view. I will just say that we're a very proud Canadian company, and we are very proud of the way this country has responded to the COVID crisis, the COVID pandemic. In Canada, we listen to science. B2Gold is partly based on science. It's part of our success. We listen to our scientists. We listen to our government. And while you don't want to completely trust your government, we tend to listen to our government. When a country like Canada faces a crisis, we bond together. We pull together to defeat the crisis. We don't divide. So we're very proud of what we've been able to do and proud of taking that message around the world. And please, wear a mask, wash your hands. Let's stop the COVID virus as quickly as we can. So we're very excited, as you can probably tell. I much prefer to talk in front of an audience, but it's a pleasure to share this time with you, and I wish everyone be safe, and we look forward to continuing to grow the future of B2Gold. Thank you all.